Good morning, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy stream. We have a very interesting donation deck list today. This one, I believe, comes from It's Shoop, and it is a deck list that I think got 28th in a recent Legacy challenge. I would entertain the idea of moving numbers around, but I'd have to borrow more cards, so you'd have to make a convincing argument. So the deck list here is very interesting. This is a show and tell deck, and it also is a Blood Sun deck. So the show and tell side you're very familiar with, right? You use show and tell to cheat in a giant fatty or an omniscience and then a giant fatty and you win the game. The Blood Suns here couple with Lotus Field. Now the idea is you play Blood Sun, and then when you play Lotus Field, you don't actually have to sacrifice a land. So you can just use that to hard cast a lot of these big stupid things that are normally outside of your castable range. I agree. Like I really don't think Stifle fits into this deck list. That's the thing that I look at this and it's like why aren't we playing Brainstorm with all these clunky cards that we have? So like that's absolutely a change that I want to make. Like, I get what Stifle does, but we're playing multiple different lands that make Stifle uncastable on turn one, and we're playing a lot of clunk that I would like to shuffle back. No Brainstorm because no fetch. Okay, yeah, I guess that's fair with Blood Sun. Alright. Alright, Nathan, I take it back. I can see why Brainstorm's not in the deck. Yeah, 3 Karn when so much of the sideboard is dedicated to being a toolbox package is a little bit weird to me. I guess technically there's 4 Karn. There's a Karn liberated over here. Yeah. Okay, so I guess there's no brainstorms because there's no fetches. There's no ways to shuffle in here. That's fine, but like maybe something like Impulse is still better than Stifle. Like selection seems rather important to me. I guess you're living the dream of stifling your own Lotus Field, which is why it's in there for secondary reasons, in addition to just like stifling your opponent's fetch lands. I don't know. Maybe this is one of those times where like the deck list is so wonky and so crazy that I should just like shut up and try it rather than make a bunch of changes to it. The deck's trying to do a lot. It's trying to be this like Lotus Field hardcast deck. It's trying to be the show and tell deck. It's trying to be this Karn tutor board deck. And I'm just not sure where it's going to end up in terms of like the number of different plans that are trying to be executed that require slightly different combinations of cards. The sideboard's interesting because a huge portion of it is a tutor board, very notably including Noxious Gearhulk, which ETB destroys a target creature, and if you do destroy one, you gain life equal to its toughness. So you can get a relatively decent threat off of Karn. There's also just a Worm Coil there. Nathan, it was like 28th or something like that in a recent Legacy challenge. It's a spicy one. Yeah. Notably, we are playing 3 spell lands. Seagate Restoration can be pretty good if you have Omniscience. You draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1, and then you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. We also have Valakut Awakening, which is put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards plus 1. So we're kind of playing 20 lands, we're kind of playing 17 lands, and we also have a couple random Lotus Petals in there just cuz. Um, I have plenty of questions about this deck list, but let's just jump on in. I have enough play points right now. Yeah, even after I lost with the crabs, I still have enough play points. Morning, Overvoltage. Hope you all are doing well this morning. Been playing a lot of Hades the last couple of days. People are talking about it on Twitter again, and that gave me the itch. So I recorded a couple of runs for the channel. I also picked up Bloodstained Ritual of the Night for the Switch, which is a Castlevania, Metroidvania style game. I'm only like 2 or 3 hours into that, but it's pretty fun. For what it's worth, I didn't even start thinking about top 8ing an event until I'm much further in than 2-0. 2-0 is the start of a good league. I think I keep this and try to use turn 1 here to find something to do off the show and tell other than just Omniscience. My opponent says, as a fellow D&T player, I feel your pain in 2020. My opponent has mulliganed to 5. If I find a Force of Will off the Ponder, I should really consider keeping it. Wonder if they're going to go goodbye Ponder or goodbye Omni. Don't think the opponent was quite expecting what I had going on there. So the dream is Force of Will plus Fatty to put in play off Show and Tell. I think I think I'm gonna fish. If I have to take 2 of these cards if I want them, and I don't super want 2 of these cards. On the streamer end, I am not dropping frames. Also, Nathan, aren't you in Canada? I believe it's morning now. Do I just like show and tell in Olos and put a Lotus Field into play? Very awkward. I can also just like show and tell in Golos, get a regular land so that I can play Karn next turn. Not exactly great either. but I don't really like just pass here. I also wonder if I do the show and tell base. Well, maybe I do. All right, I'm doing it. Figure out what I'm getting in a second. Oh, nice. That's actually okay. I think Karn is better than Show and Tell for Golos now. I think I just jammed that. We don't really have anything that's super relevant right now, and if we grab something this turn, it can be just taken by discard. But I think I'm supposed to just grab the liquid metal coating. Why are we playing City of Brass? Because it was in the deck list I was given, basically, is the reason. Blood Sun shuts off all mana, all, what is it, activated abilities of lands that are, all lands lose, all lands lose all abilities except mana abilities. Yeah, it might lose that. It's separate from the tap. Okay, so we are presumably playing against Doomsday. I have to like get all my stuff on screen here. I want Flusterstorm. And do I like Blast? I don't know if I Blast. Stifle could be like really hilarious at certain points versus Doomsday. Blast is better against some of the sideboard stuff than the game one stuff. Alesh Norn doesn't really do anything. I know I can cut that. I don't super know how many threats I need to keep. I don't super feel like Golos is insane in this matchup. Like, this is kind of a race, and Golos is not the sort of thing that I want to spend my mana on. So those two can sub for the Flusterstorms, and now it's a question like, are blasts actually better than my other cards? And it's very hard for me to tell the answer to that question. There's also the question like, is Wormcoil Engine better than some other card that's in the deck, such as the other Golos? Or do I want to leave it in the sideboard to tutor for? I can already tutor for Noxious Gearhulk, which makes it slightly less necessary that I need to do that. I can also board in Iona, actually. That's just something to show and tell in and name black, and then it becomes hard for our opponent to win. I don't actually know that Surgical's okay. Surgical doesn't really do much. Like, we don't have enough counterspells where we're truly a control deck because a bunch of our counterspells can't answer Doomsday. So I don't know that we can super consistently answer Doomsday and then do another thing. Yep. This is fine. We are playing a Stompy hand that happens to have a Force of Will. That's what this hand is. It just turn 3 goldfishes. That's good enough for me. Holy shit. Who gave the Stompy decks 2 Force of Wills? Yeah, we are just going to be going for Karn into Lattice and try to Goldfish on turn 3 with 2 Force of Wills. That should be pretty reasonable. Oh, okay, I see. Cornea, thank you very much for your continued support. We're up to a year now. It's crazy. And Chris, thank you very much for following. A days, huh? I would like my card to resolve, please. I think it's believed to not correct to not put Mycosynth Lattice into my hand this turn. I think I'm just gonna plus on the Karn and keep its loyalty high. There's basically not a world where I'm not jamming Mycosynth Lattice next turn. I don't think. Like, I can just get the Liquid Metal Coating and try to win that way. But about the scariest thing my opponent can put into play in this turn cycle is a Baleful Strix. So, I'm jamming. My opponent says, friend, no. Did you draw days for turn? Okay. Okay, GG. GG. Our Abomination gets there in round 1. Excellent. Alright, I'm gonna leave the deck list on screen for a second. I'm gonna run to the restroom. I'll be right back. Sorry about the delay, but I have been going through a lot of water recently. Got myself a fancy new water bottle that actually keeps things cold for an extended period of time. Now I'm drinking water like it's going out of style. We are probably going to get a lot of wins today from people being really confused about what our deck is doing. Okay, so I can turn to have a Lotus Field with this hand while using turn 1 to look for something broken to do with it. I don't know if this is a keep, but for science, I should probably keep it. Turn 3, Chandra Awakened Inferno. I'm in for this. Fuck. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. I almost want to Force of Will this to just, buy time. Because my hand does literal nothing right now. And if I can make their hand maybe do literal nothing, I think this is fine. Alright, they did have another land. Okay. That can be a Gaddock Teague, so I have to Force of Will this. Just super slow rolling towards a Chandra Awakened Inferno. Knight. Three, 4, 5, 6. I can ponder first. The knight can turn into a 5/5, which means I can still kill it with this planeswalker. Very, very awkwardly, though, if our opponent has Dryad Arbor in their deck, which is very likely, that does get to kill my big planeswalker. Oh, shit. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're definitely going to keep that. That's how we're going to actually win this game. I can sacrifice my 2 normal lands this turn and keep double Lotus Field Ancient Tomb. Yeah. Alright. Dugan is gonna feel so good. Play another card for me now. Okay. We're just casting Ugin naturally, no big deal. With 3 lands. Nice. Is that a questing beast? Questing beast would be rough. The phrasing of Ugin is exile each permanent with CMC X or less that's 1 or more colors. So that one doesn't have the non-land restriction. Are we sideboarding? I'm not sure if we're sideboarding. Like, is awkward to sideboard in Iona against a Caracas deck? I'm not sure if I want to leave both of these in the sideboard to wish for. I don't know that Cage is worth a card. Like, most of my cards seem fine to good here. I don't know, maybe respecting Teague with Grafdigger's Cage is fine. Probably very little cost to doing that. I don't really know what to board out. All my cards seem fine. One Stifle. One Force of Will. This stream, this specific one, I haven't cast any of these. Um, but I've played with the black one a decent amount. I have no colored mana here. So, like, I have that sideboard Cage, but the rest of the hand's unplayable. This is just a turn 2 Karn hand. That's fine. Actually, if I don't have blue mana, do I just pitch a cantrip and save this for late game for if I get show and tell? Maybe. Maybe not. Like, maybe I'm looking to go Karn Bridge and then empty my hand. I guess keeping the Grizzlebrand allows me to draw a show and tell and do that on turn 1 or 2 instead of doing Karn. Bridge plan is now slightly awkward with a Noble Hierarch in play that has 0 power. I can always attack through Bridge. Yeah, so the black spell land, Palaka Predation, looked pretty good when we were playing it in Curses. Seen a decent amount of them on stream when opponents were playing like Belcher or Oops All Spells. I have the red and blue ones today, which are maybe okay in some circumstances. Yep, that's exactly the draw that punishes us for putting Grizzlebrand back. What's the opponent doing over there? Why do they have so many stops set? Um, I think I just go Mountain Pass and don't play around Thalia because it would play into my Lotus Petal just getting destroyed by like a Knight of Autumn, which they showed me. That's a shame. Could have had turn 1 Grizzlebrand. Wonder if opponent is like double queuing or something. Because they were playing fine in game one, and now they're pausing every few seconds. Alright. This is the game of get punished for every decision that I've made so far. Hey. I think I'm on track to lose this game. I think it's better to continue playing than to concede, but not by a whole lot. I have 3 cards in hand. This is going to be my 4th card in hand. Next turn, I'm going to draw up to 5 cards in hand. I don't know that Ensnaring Bridge is actually going to get there. If I want to just pick up a Wormcoil Engine right now, hope to draw a Soul Land, and then win that way. Like, I just don't think I can empty my hand fast enough with Ensnaring Bridge for it to matter anymore. Oh shit. I take 10 this turn. Yeah, I mean, if we had blue mana, we could talk. I guess I shouldn't have pitched the Grizzlebrand on the card that I put back from the mulligan. That's a bad hand. I guess we keep this, go land, land, turn 3, Lotus Field. Then cast Show and Tell for Emrakul and hope it's good enough. Um, yeah. It's not great, but it's a hand that has a full functioning plan and can beat 1 Wasteland. And I think that's good enough for a 6. I don't love that this is the creature that I have to put in. Like, I really don't want it to be a legendary creature, especially when it's going to be this slow. Yeah, that's fine. Like, if they Thoughtseize me, they Thoughtseize me, but if they Thoughtseize me on 5, it would be just as bad. Well, there's a little bit of redundancy at least. I think I'm gonna play this. That just lets me cast a show until next turn without having to use Lotus Field. How good would Stifle be here? Annoying. At this point, I think another Wasteland is going to kill me. At this point, I also don't really think Emrakul is live as a win condition, with Sylvan Library being Sylvan Library. That's just so many looks at finding Night, or Caracas naturally, or Green Sun for Night. Yeah, Lotus Field is a really cool design. It's a very fair land that taps for more than one mana, and I think the balance is much closer than the balance on something like, say, Cloud Post or the Tron lands or something like that. Like the ETB tapped here, and the sacrificing land downside is also balanced by a hexproof upside to protect it. Like I love the card design there. And relatively speaking, there aren't that many ways to make the Lotus Field that much better. It's like Blood Sun, Stifle, and the other collection of Stifle-like effects. So in smaller formats, it's not like Lotus Field ramp is going to be a like super popular thing or anything like that. God damn it. Yep. This game is going to be miserable to play out, but like we're very much not dead, so I can't concede. Because once I hit like land into Lotus Field, then Show and Tell for Emrakul is live, and if by some miracle my opponent can't answer that, they lose most or all of their board and 15 life. Uh, the wrong color. Yeah, I would be getting real aggressive with Sylvan Library, personally. Like, maybe the cards on top are just very bad. But if they were really bad, I might be inclined to just pay and get through them if I didn't have a fetch land. And that definitely limits my options. Yeah, so basically wishing the spell lands were just more volcanic islands at this point. We're not very deep into the league, but in this deck that has colorless lands, some of your lands not producing both colors seems like a very real downside. Knight of the Reliquary or Green Sun. Well, I guess not Green Sun anymore. Knight of the Reliquary becomes very annoying for me. It means my Emrakul isn't an auto win. Yeah, I think we're good here. We're not beating the knight that gets to untap. Oh, I guess we are maxed out on volcanic islands already. Like Valakut Awakening in particular. Like the red mana doesn't cast that many cards, and the blue mana casts a lot of cards. Like especially these 12 right here. I do not think there should be two Valakut Awakenings in the deck based on what I am seeing thus far. I also think the upside of being able to cast Valakut Awakening is not all that high. Like, the upside of being able to cast Seagate Restoration off an Omniscience is probably much higher than getting to cast a Valakut's Awakening fairly. Not 100% sure there, but that's my current thought. Airweave MTG, thank you very much for following. I missed you at some point. Then does nothing. Does that turn for Karn despite having mana acceleration? It can't cast the Ponder fairly. Yeah, we're gonna ship this one and look for something a little bit better. So my opponent has mulligan to 5, which kind of makes me think keeping a hand with 2 Force of Wills is okay. Doctor, it sure is. It sure is. I'm gonna pitch the Lotus Veil here and keep this hand. My opponent is playing some sort of like Oops All Spells, Belcher style deck, maybe something like Dredge. I might just get a free roll with this Force of Will. Do I just junk this on their mulligan that's that low? I don't think so. Playing towards a turn 2 Karn, I think I'm going to play Ancient Tomb and pass. That's awkward. Not really Force of Will worthy, but my opponent has Mull to 5, has 2 cards left. I have an Ancient Tomb. So in all likelihood, this hits me for 4 next turn, followed by 6 every turn after that. That's actually a lot of pressure when I have Ancient Tomb. I think I have to force. Um, but this will leave me more vulnerable to things that I actually care about more than it. Uh, that sucks for me. Alright, Valakut's Awakening. You get your chance here. Put back 3 and keep 1 show and tell. Great hand. Stop wastelanding yourself. Fortunately, they still get to put the Knight of the Reliquary into play this turn, which will be very good. I probably need to draw something unfair in this turn cycle, or I'm dead. Does that count? Can't really get one of the big finishers. I can get Bridge. No, if I Karn into Crypt, Karn just dies, right? There's still 3 power on board. Karn starts at 5, goes down to 3. I think I just Karn and get Bridge and hope that works out somehow. Actually, let's represent another Stifle. We're less likely to get wastelanded this turn. which is good. Fuck. That's very bad for me. That combination means that I both get Wastelanded and Elvish Reclaimer grows. Probably correct to Wasteland me in my upkeep since I have Stifle. Really hoping to draw a land this turn. Oh, right. They didn't make their sec. They didn't make a land drop there. Okay, it's fine. I should be dead after not drawing a land there. I guess I can draw a Lotus Field. God damn it, Cascading Cataracts. Not producing colored mana is rough. They have Wastelanded twice after putting Ensnaring Bridge into play. Like, if this Cascading Cataracts produced colored mana, I get, like... I think I'm just dead. Like, I can put Ensnaring Bridge into play, but then I have one land with which to do things. And it becomes basically impossible for me to beat the Ramunap stuff. I guess there's some Lotus Petal based lines that work okay. Alright. I'm gonna go top. And put the Ensnaring Bridge into play. And I'm going to hope to assemble Show and Tell plus Omniscience into Ugin. I don't know that what I'm going to do is actually going to work, but there is at least a path towards victory. So I'm going to get hit for 2, then I'm going to get hit for 5, then I'm going to get hit for 5. Oh, maybe there's not a path towards victory because the soul lands don't do it anymore. Yeah, Cascading Cataracts has the same problem that Valakut Awakening has, in that it's keeping me from casting Show and Tell, when a Show and Tell would have won me the game. Or if not won me the game, gotten close. Yeah, and then not. Yep. Alright. I mean, I think post decks feel better than this. Sometimes the Maverick decks have Cradle, sometimes they don't. Like there's a pretty wide range of what is Maverick. That includes like different color combinations, different flex land spots, different main deck slots, different GSZ targets. Like you have your straight green white Maverick, you have junk Maverick, you have punishing Maverick, you have Maverick that has like jammed Oko in because like 2019 cards are good. But Gaia's Cradle is something that I expect most Maverick decks to have access to. Will everyone have access to it? No, not necessarily. But if I am playing against Maverick, it's a card that is fair to expect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of our lands don't cast like cantrips or show and tells. I do not think that's really acceptable. Yeah, like imagine if this could cast a cantrip. This could be a potentially keepable hand because any second land allows us to Lotus Field. But as it stands, we can't keep this. Ah. All right, we'll be keeping this hand, and if we get wastelanded on turn 1, we'll just concede. Kind of worried about getting Pondered locked by keeping Ponder. I think I'll keep it though and throw back Preordain on 1. Yeah, so this deck's fun to play. Mana base is horrendous. Having no ability to just like fetch for basics to play around this sort of stuff is bad. All right, let's move on. So like normally show and tell has plenty of fetch lands so that you get a lot of staying power with your islands and such. But I have very little ability to play around wasteland that doesn't require me to use spells. Yeah, I do agree. I don't think Maverick is a good matchup. Like Caracas beats the fatties, Wasteland beats my horrendous mana base. I'm not goldfishing nearly as quickly as regular show and tell does. Um, I am worse against a Thalia effect than regular show and tell. Uh, yeah. I imagine we're gonna get shit on by Delver for similar reasons. Like the combination of counterspells plus wastelands is probably gonna be just as bad as the combination of hate bears plus wasteland. Yeah. I am so done with this mana base at this point. God damn it. The idea with Stifle is that you can stifle your own Lotus Field activation, but, we need another land for that to work. What am I on? Is this 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So we pitch 1 petal, 1 force. Done. I swear, if it's another fucking Maverick deck, I'm going to lose my shit. Please just be depth or something. I want a different matchup. Like, I would like to see this deck do some stuff instead of just getting shit on by Wasteland round after round. Alright. So yeah, fun league. Hopefully we just top deck show and tell and then go like Omniscience, Grizzlebrand, draw 7, Emrakul. Fuck you. That is my current plan. Maybe it's green white elves. Oh, it is green white elves. Do I force this? It would take 2 cards out of my hand and put me closer to the point where I could concede. What do you think, chat? No? Shouldn't force it? No? Okay. We won't force it. Couldn't resist the troll there. Yeah, Archon of Valor's Reach is a hell of a drug. I might have mentioned this on the podcast. I don't remember. It's hard for me to remember what I talk about where. None of those cards are good. I guess we take the Ponder. It's better than not taking it. Just lets us look at 2 cards instead of 1 random card. What are you doing, Stifle? What are you doing? It's okay. They don't need any more cards. Like, their win condition is on the table. Like, they just tap for 3, tap for 4. Sorry, tap. They had 1 leftover, so they tap for 5, Activate Korean Ranger, untap a Dryad Arbor, activate for 6, and then bash in for 10 damage, and then I die the following turn. So I have to draw Show and Tell this turn. Then I need to draw 7 off Gristlebrand. Also hit Emrakul, take an extra turn to live, I think. At least we did get to have a round or two where we actually did our thing before just getting bullied by decks. I don't know that we have a lot that beats elves. I think they're just going to go fast and kill me. Maybe my opening hands treat me a little bit better. What's going on over there? Like, I'm not wrong, right? It's 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana, activate Quarian, bounce this, untap that, 6 mana, bash in for 10. Oh, I see. Activating with Wirewood instead can give 11 damage. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, so we're not dead. I can stifle uh, the Allosaurus Shepherd activation this turn. Just activated. I'm not dead this turn. You don't know that yet, but I'm not dead this turn. Let me cast my Stifle, then not draw Show and Tell and concede. Please. Cool. Here I definitely want Iona. I definitely want Cage. That's probably about it. Pithing Needle's worth considering, I guess. We don't have enough controlling elements where I think something like Flusterstorm's actually good. Boarding these two, what's like my worst threat that I would want to board out? Karn Liberated is probably not particularly good. 7 mana to exile 1 permanent probably isn't getting there most of the time. Board that out. And 1 Stifle maybe? Do something like that. This hand doesn't do anything fast, and I think I need to do something fast to win. So, like, this hand is stable, I guess, but I have to use my cantrips to look for lands. And that means I can't be using them to look for, like, show and tell, and I need both show and tell and a target here. I don't think Karn's good enough to win. I'm going to ship this hand. And does nothing. We need both show and tell and a target for this hand to be good. Uh, Yikes. I also think this hand does nothing. Fuck. Yeah. Keep this shit. Inject it into my veins. We'll take this. Yeah, Dr. Odd. Like, the mana base is bad, and I don't think the game plan is nearly focused enough. I'm name green. Opponent's list probably has a 1 of Caracas, so this doesn't 100% win the game. But it probably wins the game. That protects me from Caracas, so that should leave my opponent with no outs. Yep, notice how we see opponent concede there. I do think they have Caracas. Yep, and my opponent immediately puts in a comment about Caracas in chat. Well, remember, Nathan, that a lot of the elves lists occasionally have Reclaimer, and when you put Reclaimer into the deck lists, it makes a lot more sense to play something like a Karakas. What is this? This is 5. Or better than this. If I keep the current hand, the plan is keep 1, 2, 3, 4, and try to like preordain into the Lotus and keep it. But I'm on the draw now, so I don't get to just like freebie Stifle a fetch land and win. I'm gonna go to 4. Fuck yeah. Hashtag skill game. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, so we won the last game with just like Iona on turn 1, so. I just play this. It's a pain land, right? I can make that choice later. I don't need to make that choice this turn cycle. Alright, if we die this turn, we die this turn. Guardian Ranger is really good there. Alright, so we're hoping for not Birchlore Rangers or Heritage Druid here. Interesting. think I'm keeping this as Force of Will fodder. We're not gonna have reanimate. What do you think this is? Goblins? No, I need to keep playing lands so that I can play towards 6 to drop bullshit that's in my deck, like Chandra and Inferno Titan. I 100% need to continue to make land drops. Like Chandra in particular can't be put in via Show and Tell, so that one is very important to keep making land drops for. Cool. Cool. There's worlds where our opponent uses some mana dorks to cast other spells rather than just turning them sideways, where we do end up living towards a 6-drop. No, this deck seems like big stinky poo poo. Just just being honest. Uh there's too many cards that are individually just unplayable on their own, and there's too many lands that don't produce the correct colors of mana. Too much of the sideboard is dedicated to a Karn package for what's going on here. The planeswalkers don't work well with show and tell. Round one was fun, but the next 3 rounds have all just been miserable. And I've been mulliganing into oblivion and just dying to basic interaction from my opponents. It just doesn't feel good. Like, Maverick is a good baseline fair deck, and we just got absolutely bullied by it. So, except on our absolute best hands, I think we just lose to too many decks. I'm not exactly sure how people put up results with it, because my opening hands keep looking like this, where like I have a land, but it's not a land that allows me to cast my spells. Yeah, and a lot of my like 2-card combos don't actually win the game, and like Golos is very awkwardly slow. Like, eh. I feel like a show and tell deck with a handicap. I'm glad round one worked out, but at this point I'm not hopeful. Keep? We'll keep a hand that does nothing, I guess. Maybe Ponder can make it do something. Maybe we can get a free one with Stifle. Like, we get Ponder to look for Show and Tell. We get Stifle to try to cheese a free one off of taking a fetch land. Or 1 mana away from Karn, which, like, maybe does stuff. Oh, cool. We're just dead on turn 1. That's fine, too. Alright, we've now cleared the Chancellor triggers from the beginning of the game. Probably not enough, but if for some reason opponent can't reanimate something this turn, I can draw Lotus Petal and go Karn Crypt and maybe win this game. I think I need to stifle this fetch land. I think I need to stifle this fetch land. I'm not going to play Ponder. I'm just going to pass. Alright, you unmask me, you probably take Karn. Interesting. I would not have gone for that line, personally. I would have taken the Karn, gotten Ashen Rider, and blown up Volcanic Island. But I don't know what else they had in hand, so what do I know? I think I'm going to leave myself with Tormod's Crypt to get off Karn. I think I awkwardly board in my Ensnaring Bridge. Not 100% sure. Don't really love Aleshnorn here. I board that in. I don't really love Inferno Titan here. I don't really love this here. This can hit Animate Deads, but it's kind of difficult to hit a bunch of the reanimation targets with it. Grizzlebrand costs 8, for example. Okay, board that out. Golos seems awkward here. Puts me at 62. Just cut some stifles. Yeah, I just don't feel good about this. I have a piece of graveyard hate, so I keep this hand. Well, be playing the ramp cards versus Reanimator doesn't seem like a winning line, right? The Chancellor. Do I want to spend a Ponder to just break that this turn? Probably. Probably want to do that. All right, we'll get Emrakul next turn. We have Force of Will to protect our show and tell. We have Surgical Extraction for if they go for a win. All seems fine. There are 2 Lotus Petals. Bring that over there. Okay. We know our opponent has a Pyroblast, but I beat that with Force of Will. Alright, our spell land pitched to Force of Will. Trying to change anything being on the draw. Maybe not. Actually, I wonder if Stifle is better than Blood Sun. Stifle might be better than Blood Sun. It's blue, it pitches to Force of Will. More important on the draw. Awful mana base is awful, but we have Surgical Extraction, so I probably have to keep this hand. Please name Force of Will. The 2 of. Well, better lucky than good. Don't give me the lull in chat. You hit a 2 of off of Cabal Therapy. We're equally lucky here. If opponent's configuration is the same as last game, they can't answer that except by hard casting Ashen Rider. Sure. Yeah, show and tell is slightly awkward. Show and tell into Ashen Rider specifically is very awkward for me. I think opponent had to look up the name of Valakut Awakening. I don't think they took a screenshot of my hand or anything like that. I think I want to convert this Lotus Petal into a land. Good God, no. I did not successfully convert it into a land. That's fine. Opponent can just get to 8 mana and hardcast a Grizzlebrand. That can be something that I have to deal with. Again, like, the lands in my deck not casting my spells is brutal. Spellslinger, it has not had been a good league. Just it's just been a bad league. Round one was really fun, and then every other round has just been miserable, and this deck has tripped over itself. I thought this deck was going to be more fun to play, and that we would like be doing broken things more consistently. But in reality, we just keep mulliganing to like 5 and then not casting spells. We pick up the face. Like we're gonna play a lot of turns of draw go. Yep. Again, lands don't cast the spells in this deck. Again, lands don't cast the spells in this deck. Alright. Do I ponder? Or do I just hold up Flusterstorm? I guess I'm not going to be holding up Flusterstorm for a lot of future turns because I'm going to be tapping out for Lotus Field anyway, so might as well ponder. um, this is fine. There's an argument that I should surgical extraction myself here to shuffle my library. I'm not sure if Valakut Awakening is good enough that I keep it. Close because my hand is clunky. I think I'll keep it. Alright. I think I play this now so I can make a land drop. There's a very real chance I am just supposed to discard a Lotus Field and then hold up Flusterstorm for my opponent's turn, do Valakut Awakening end of turn. It just feels much safer to do it that way. Although if I hit a blue untapped land, I end up in a similar spot. Alright, we'll cast it. Alright, let's junk. Lotus Field, Lotus Field, Surgical Extraction, Omniscience, assuming that we... I don't know how many cards I'm supposed to pitch here. Like I just kind of want to get to something like Karn that I can hardcast. I assume that I will redraw a blue card for this Force of Will. Let's just do this. Yeah, we can win the game with Karn next turn. But like, I am tired of saying this, but like, I want my lands to cast my fucking spells. Like, it's so frustrating that I can't be holding up Stifle or Flusterstorm in this turn cycle. I'm also very unhappy with my opponent's pace of play. I have 5 mana this turn. I think I'm going to Karn and I guess I'll Ponder first. Pondering first gives me information and doesn't really cost me anything. Just go for a Lattice Kill next turn. I get a land. It did. But yeah, game is good for sure. This shuts off my opponent's Lotus Petal from being a live mana source. Hades is great. Yeah, the Hades as a boss fight is a very respectable boss fight. It is probably not the sort of fight that you're going to win the first time that you play it. All right, opponent just concedes. All right, we ended up 2-3 with this deck list, which I'll take. So my line that turn was going to be play Island, cast Stifle on my City of Traders, leaving the battlefield trigger, and then pass the turn having Force of Will up. We didn't do it, but that was the game plan there. Okay, this deck was bad. It was very bad. It is trying to do too many things. It is trying to play spell lands when it needs more consistent mana. It is trying to play too many cute utility lands, such as Cascading Cataracts, that don't actually cast your spells. It's so important to be able to cast these 12 spells. And when, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 of honorary, 10, 11, 12, 13 of those cards don't actually work towards casting those in the early game. That leaves this deck with an absolutely atrocious mana base. So like I enjoy Stompy decks. I have nothing wrong with like there's nothing wrong with playing Show and Tell decks. But this was a deck where I didn't lose to my own play. I just lost to my own deck almost every round. Rounds 2 through 4, I basically mulliganed to Oblivion and didn't do much. This deck also has a very hard time against Wasteland decks. Um, I can't imagine wanting to play this deck in a format where Delver is one of the most popular and best decks. So overall, changes I would make to the deck: minus 75 cards plus an entirely different deck. Delete it. We're done with it. We're moving on. Okay, I'm going to call it a day here, folks. I hope you enjoyed. I will be back tomorrow night, probably roughly around 6 p.m. Eastern with some D&T. I'll probably be testing Aspirant some more. Might test Legion Angel. I haven't put a deck list together yet. Have a great rest of the day, folks. If you're enjoying my content and you're not following already, please consider following. I'm streaming Legacy about 3 days of the week. And if you're really enjoying my content, please consider doing something like subscribing to the channel or doing a donation deck list and adding something fun to the queue. None of my regulars are online right now, so I'm just gonna turn you over to some random Magic player that's in my recommended sidebar. Have a great rest of the day, folks.